There's a new tournament rule change coming into play. Why?
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 We're asking that question why right here on Read Between the Lines.
Why?
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 Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Reading Between the Lines. Happy New Year as well. Today we're going to be talking about the updates that were given to us by Black Chantry. We're going to look at a couple of new card erratas, and then of course the tournament rule change. So we're going to get into all of that today. So let's start real quick. We're going to get into the first of the card erratas, and that first one being the Asher tablets. And so we're going to look at the revision of that card. The big change on the card is going to be that only one Asher tablets can be played each turn. That's really what it boils down to. So you're not able to put multiple Asher tablets out during your master phase actions. And so the point of that was to slow that card down some. And so I think it's a good change. You know, I mean, I got no problem. I had no problem if they wanted to ban the card. I had no problem if you know, they wanted to errata the card, which they ultimately ended up doing. You know, the big thing to me is that I really think that because of this change, what's going to happen is I think you might see a little bit more Asher tablets being played because of the fact that you're not going to be competing against, you know, a multi-master phase action deck. And so that's, I think that's going to be a plus. And so it doesn't hurt to stick them in your deck at this particular point. You know, why not gamble it? So if I'm running right now, let's say I've got an 80 card library and I've only got 12 master cards in the deck, sticking 6 extra Asher tablets in that deck doesn't really hurt me any, because not only do I get a chance to get the pull, but I also got a chance for recursion. And so I think that the Asher tablet change is a good change. You know, works for me. You know, it solves some of the problems and some of the issues that they've had with the cards. So overall, I think it's a good balanced decision with the card. Then we go to the next one, which is the Emerald Legionnaires, and this one's got a really specific change. And so I'm just going to read the text to you. It says, during your unlock phase, if you control fewer copies of Emerald Legionnaires than ready unique Harbinger of Skulls, you can remove 7 cards in your ash heap from the game to remove an Emerald Legionnaire from your ash heap to the ready region with 2 life. All right. So the big thing is it's going to be a lot harder to recur them out of the graveyard, because you can only do that based on the number of Harbinger of Skulls that you have into play. And so that's a nice little subtle change. So really, it doesn't prevent you from bringing them in, you know, through the the regular employ method of just simply, you know, taking an action to bring them into play. That's not stopping it. What it does stop is it stops the recursion aspect of it. So you're just going to have to pay a pull and do that. I think it slows down Harbingers of Skulls decks, but it doesn't necessarily stop them. So because I think, you know, once you got 3 Harbingers of Skulls out there, you could be putting out an Emerald Legionnaire every turn, or even 2 every turn. And to me, you know, it might even be advantageous to do that over relying on the recursion method to a certain degree, depending on how that plays out. So we'll see. I don't know how much this morph is really going to hurt Emerald Legionnaires, to be honest with you. I really don't, other than the fact that it's going to be, you know, not as cost effective. Okay, I do think that, you know, with the ability to unlock and take multiple actions, you know, that it's still going to be able to be, you know, a good win con for people to play this Emerald Legionnaire. So I mean, I like the morph. Once again, I go either way. You can always You could have always either banned the card or you could have, done what the choice was here, which was to errata the card. Works for me either way. What I do appreciate is the fact that you can get the reprint of the card. You can get the new cards online now at drive-through cards. So what I applaud Black Chantry for this is the fact that, we've errated these cards, and you can go get a print and you can get them at a very, affordable cost to get you several copies of these cards. And I think that is a great way of doing it. I like the fact that you're going to get the ability to get the erratic cards at a low cost. And so I think that's, very beneficial. And so the two changes, nothing major, or any major surprises, I should say, coming out of that. So we'll see. I'll tweak my Emerald Legionnaire deck and see how it goes and plays. But we'll roll with the punches. But let's get to my big topic today, which is the tournament rule change. And I want to read this specifically from Black Chantry because I didn't know this was a problem. I've been playing tournaments now for about 2 years, going out and playing tournaments, and I didn't realize that this was a problem. And so here's what it says. Tournament rule change. The multi-deck system can now be used for any tournament except national championships, Grand Prix, and continental championships. 3.1.5 multi-deck system. Players are prohibited from making modifications to their decks between rounds unless the tournament uses the following multi-deck rules. The multi-deck system can be used at any tournament that is neither a national championship, a Grand Prix, or a continental championship. Organizers choosing to use this system must announce its use in advance of the tournament date. Players may choose to bring any number of tournament legal decks to the tournament and or extra cards to exchange with cards in their decks, also known as a sideboard in some games. Between rounds, players may freely switch decks or cards in their decks. This change has tournament legality 1st February 2024. All right. So the first thing is, and the first benefit for me is the fact that it is an optional thing. You don't have to run, you're not required to run a multi-deck tournament system, okay? But my first feelings on this is I hate it. I've always hated sideboards. When I was playing a lot of Magic and stuff like that, I've never liked sideboard rules. And I don't like the idea that I can now bring an extra deck and change out my decks. The whole point of building a deck and spending all that time on a deck is to go out and see if it works to me. And you're not always going to win. And losing is part of the game, okay? Failure is a part of the game. You just want to have everybody on as much of the same playing field when you play. It's one of the reasons why I go and play. I used to be a semi-professional poker player, and I used to go play a lot of Texas Hold'em tournaments. Okay, and I was pretty good. I won a few tournaments, and I was always in the plus every year, so I was pretty good at that. But what I liked about tournament was that everybody's in the is in the same structure. Okay. Everybody starts with the same money, and once you lose your pile of money, that's it, okay? It's not like going out to a poker table, a real poker table, where somebody could be there with $10,000 and somebody could be there with $1,000. And of course, the big money guys, they can always bet out the small money guys because they've got more to work with. And so it's a lot harder to overcome that, when you're just bringing, $1,000 to a table that's going to have $10,000 to $15,000 easily there, because I've played those tournaments too, okay? I should say play those tables too. So you have that. So to me, when you're doing a tournament, the tournament needs to have a structure. And I just think that it's a disadvantage, especially for newer players. And my thing, if anybody knows me, I'm always trying to groom new players and bring in new players and to build a player base. Okay. I'm a big proponent of that. I believe that whenever you do, whenever we're making all of these new cards, and of course we're building all these new decks and stuff like that, and then the play testing and stuff that goes on, I'm always hammering in, you've got to keep the new player in mind, that when you do stuff like this, it's always for the new player, not for the old player. And to me, this is a rule that benefits solely the old player. This is a rule that benefits them solely. And so it's going to be overwhelming for a newer player who's only got like a year experience coming in to play a tournament, and they've got their one deck, okay, but now they've got to have three decks, or more, and it's just, now you've taken away, you've changed the dynamic. It's no longer everybody's playing within the same structure because they can't. At least in a one deck system, everybody brings their one deck, okay? But in a multi deck system, if you've been around and you've got a lot of cards and stuff like that, that changes the dynamic of the game tremendously. And one of the things is I always get back to this fact that, look, man, so you lost. I mean, I played the Dance Macabre here, which was an event that I ran. We had 4 events. I lost all 4 events. Still had a ball. Okay, lost all 4 events. Okay, and you talking about just getting hammered. I didn't even make a final table. This is like the first event thing that I went to, and really a lot that I didn't even make a final table. I mean, I got hammered pretty bad, but I was trying a lot of crazy stuff. I was experimenting with some of the decks that I wanted to do, and I had a little success, but not the type of success that I wanted. So in the 4 events that I played, I didn't win a single one. I didn't even come close, and that happens. Okay, so I'm like I said, I'm just not entirely sure where this multi-deck system thing is warranted. Okay, now. Carl Schaefer has a blog on his KGS forum, and he wrote a pretty good article on this. And if you get a chance, I suggest that you read Carl's article because he makes a couple of very good points about this. I'm not going to go into all that because he's made some good points. I suggest you read his article. But we had talked about it, and one of the things that he did mention, and I did think that this was a valid point. And I do understand this point that VTES players, especially in the United States, we have to travel to go play tournaments. We have to travel. I mean, I live in Vidor, Texas, but if I go play in Dallas, Texas, that's a 5-hour drive. Okay, that's a 5-hour drive. And if I go to Austin, Texas, that's a 5-hour drive. And if I go to New Orleans, Louisiana, that's a 5-hour drive. And if I go to Biloxi, Mississippi, that's a 5-hour drive. Okay. All right, if I'm going to Columbus, Ohio, that's an air flight that takes all day. Okay, so you're traveling, and then you're going, and you're going to be spending the night. You're going to be spending money, and the last thing you want to do is to go out and you can't even compete because the deck that you brought can't compete. That is the only legitimate argument that I've heard so far for this. But even so, it's one of the reasons why when I run an event, I run multiple tournaments so that hey, in that tournament you bombed. Grab a different deck, play and go to the next tournament, and you play. It's one of the reasons why I don't like just to run one tournament during an event. I like to run several tournaments during the event. To me, that's the way you do that. So I didn't understand why this was asked for. I just personally I don't like it. I know people don't like to lose, but you know what? Losing's part of life. Lose, man. That's how you learn to get. That's how I'm going to get better. I mean, I played a lot of tournaments last year. I want to say I'm trying to do the counting somewhere close to 20, and I only won two out of all of the tournaments that I played last year. And there's no guarantee that I'll win one this year. I mean, because the competition's getting a lot tougher now that VTES is really starting to come, out of its torpor. It's come out of the torpor, and everybody's playing and stuff like that. And so you got a lot more players. There's a lot more competitiveness and this, that, and the other. And you get mainly a casual junkie like me who just likes to go out and just kind of stir the pot. And stir the pot and go with it. And stuff, and just have fun. But that's my thoughts. I'm when I've set up the Dance Macabre 2 that we've got going on in December for this year, I'll talk to the player base and see if they want to run a multi-deck. My first inclination is absolutely not. Someone's going to have to convince me to why we should have a multi-deck system, and especially as the rules are laid out. Because one of the things that I don't like about the rules, the way that they're laid out, is get into the finals. You get into the finals, and your seeding, you might look at your seeding and go, well, I'm going to play this deck because I'm sitting in position number 5, and I'm going to play this deck because I'm sitting in position number 1, and that changes things. And then you get into the fact that if you're playing in a timed tournament, that becomes very beneficial in a multi-deck system. So not only do we have to worry about, the seating thing, which I've never been a big fan of, where you get to pick your seat, okay, where the seating position is, and then now all of a sudden you've got the clock, and now all of a sudden you can pick your deck. Well, how many more advantages do you want or need in order to win? I'm just like, so not a big fan of the multi-deck system, especially the way that the rules are currently written right now. And I would love to hear comments. Please post them up here, on the YouTube channel, and give me your feedback as to why you believe that we should have that. I think that, I'd love to hear it. But as of right now, somebody's going to have to convince me that this idea is what is needed for tournament play. But the good news is that it is optional. The other good news is that it's not for things like the national championships, the Grand Prix, and the Continental Championships. So it's not going to apply to those big events, which is great, because I really believe that deck building is part of the game. Okay, and that you bring your one idea, to that tournament, and I think that to me, that's part of it. That's part of the joy of it too. So anyway, I appreciate you watching, man. I hope you have a happy new year and a prosperous year, and have a lot of fun playing a lot of VTES. Thanks for watching. It's been Reading Between the Lines. Y'all take care.
Oh, you watched the whole video? Hey, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it. If you like what you've been seeing, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Y'all take care.